Today on the High Republic Show, we update the timeline with the latest and greatest books and comics, deliver some of the hot and fresh reveals you love, and I finally transform into my true High Republic self with a little help from our friends. The star may have fallen, but nothing can stop this star from talking about all things High Republic, because the High Republic Show starts right now.
Over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were guardians of peace and justice.
Hey, long time no see. Did you miss me? I miss y'all, and even though we just hung out at the beginning of January for the High Republic Anniversary Special, we still have a lot to chat about. Like this brand new High Republic Show set! Ah! Oh my god, yay! Look at all the cool stuff! The famed Marchion Row helmet. Lightsabers, lightsabers, lightsabers. The Starlight Beacon. High Republic temple robes. We'll talk about that later. And look at this custom round table. The perfect round table to chat with Lucasfilm Senior Vice President James Waugh. Hi, James.
Hey, Krystina.
Thank you for being our first at the round table guest.
It's a privilege.
First off, I want to say congratulations on 1 year of the High Republic. And as we near the end of phase 1, take us back to the beginning. Is this what you had hoped for and planned, or is it a little different than anticipated?
It feels like such a different world now. Those were like the days where you could actually get in rooms like this and like talk to people and engage. Was it everything we expected? Kathy Kennedy, she really threw the gauntlet down. She really challenged us to be bold, to not just focus on sort of tie-in books that expanded the movie fictions, but build new characters and like find new spaces and just like challenge yourself. Could we do like big stories that like weave a tapestry? So it was a big, bold challenge, but it actually really gave us, I think, the confidence to say like, let's do different with Star Wars. And right from the start, we were excited. We had a few like different takes. We had something that kind of played with the High Republic era a little, or what could be the High Republic. But until we actually got in the room in Skywalker Ranch, you know, it didn't really come together. And I've got to say, like, the moment that group of authors were together, there was just a clear sense of this is going to be exciting, because so many like diverse voices that had like different perspectives on what they truly loved about Star Wars. The discussions were rigorous and people knew their Star Wars and went really deep. And by the end of day 1, I remember Mike Siglain looked at each other and we're like, this is gonna be special. This is gonna be cool. No matter what happens to it, this is gonna be cool.
Now, what would you say was the biggest challenge of undertaking this endeavor?
Not only were we building a whole new storyline that could possibly traverse like 5 years of storytelling, we were also doing it in a whole new era that we hadn't explored yet. And so we were kind of figuring out those foundational world building tenets at the same time we were building a story. So that was a challenge, but it was a really exciting one. I would say the thing that was most challenging though is building something that takes place over 5 years in different publishing formats that has to be an ongoing narrative in phases, but also not alienate the people that, as much as I'd like to say we're all reading everything, people have limited hours in their day, and so they have to be able to pick up a book and go along for the adventure and not be alienated, and not feel like, oh, I have to read everything else to get to this point. Mm-hmm. And it's something we still monitor closely every day.
Well, we've talked about the challenges. As a Lucasfilm executive, what would you say your biggest surprise was about this initiative?
It was how fast people suddenly were excited about the era and loved the fact that they could like tell Jedi stories again, and not Jedi stories encumbered by like the drama of the Clone Wars and knowing that it's towards the end of the Jedi Order, but really a sort of Jedi at their height. We build this stuff for the fans. You know, I think a lot of people put their heart and soul and a lot of work and effort and work late nights and do so because they love Star Wars and they love the Star Wars storytelling. And so you sort of cross your fingers and you work really hard and you hope that people love it. And it seems to have really captured a whole fan segment.
Part of the reason I was excited to come on board with this project is that we're all kind of not driving necessarily, but we're all in the passenger seat together. We're all learning about this stuff firsthand. It's not a contest. We're all just on equal footing of being on this adventure together. And I think it's pretty fantastic.
We are all the Republic.
We are all the Republic.
We're all the Republic.
Now, can you speak to Story Group's involvement with this project?
We have been involved at every step of the way, from sort of initial, strategic conversations that we wanted to really explore new directions in publishing, to being in the room at every step and working with artists and editors and writers. I think there's a little misnomer that we're, at times handing stories over, or telling people what to write, and that's not at all the case. I think we really look at it as we're dramaturgs. We're there to make the story better, and to be Star Wars experts, and to be good sounding boards, and to help shape these stories, because we have awareness of what's going on across all the different mediums and platforms, and so bringing that wealth of information to each creator and allowing them to have, a resource that helps guide and empowers their vision is, I think, really our strong suit. So, it's collaborative.
The High Republic, as you said, it's a multimedia initiative.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about bringing it into other media and some other exciting things that you may have coming up?
I can tell you some things.
I know you have the tea, sir.
There is some tea, but here's what I'll spill. There's a really exciting game in development that is going to really allow you to step into the High Republic and play it. There's a live action show in development, which is incredibly exciting to think that this influenced a really amazing creator in Leslie Headland. We did a really exciting VR experience with the X-Lab group called Tales from the Galaxy's Edge. And, there are a few other things in the works that I will be more than happy to talk about
when they come.
In the time, in the months, years ahead.
Now, I will move on and ask you, what do you hope to see from the High Republic going forward?
I am excited to see new storytellers step in and continue the journey. I'm excited to see what the Fabulous Five will cook up next. I'm excited to see what all sorts of new interactive partners create and craft. I think what's exciting is it's a space for new storytelling. Having the opportunity to meet new characters in that sort of fantasy fulfillment way, I think we always kind of dreamed of when we heard that for 10,000 years, the Jedi Order were the guardians of peace and justice in the galaxy.
For 10,000? I'm not going to do it, I promise.
Do it. I think the future is very bright for the High Republic in the years ahead.
Well, we do it for light and life.
Light and life.
James, thank you so much for sitting down with me today. This has been a delight. It's been such a pleasure to meet you and sit at our round table with you. And I look forward to more High Republic and more conversations in the future.
And thank you.
We are sprinting towards the end of the tunnel of Wave 3 of the High Republic. And that light at the end of the tunnel? Oh, it's just Starlight Beacon on fire, breaking in half. Yeah, still not over that one. Oh, and that Who Will Survive poster. It wasn't lying, because a lot of our faves appear to also have been taken from us. It's not all sadness, right? Right, let's jump into the timeline to see what's been going on. Supreme Chancellor Lina So called for a meeting with Master Emmerich Captor and investigator Cian Holt, requesting the two work together. Lina So introduces them to the not-so-friendly Arathab Fall, who has been trying to sell a mysterious weapon on the black market. This isn't the first time Cian and Arathab have crossed paths. Cian and Emmerich head out to make contact with an agent who had a meeting with Arathab, but that contact is found with a giant hole in his chest, and there's just no coming back from that. Who could have caused this? Emmerich and Cian wonder if it could be someone within Lina So's inner circle feeding intel to the Nile about the investigation. But they aren't the only ones wondering what's up with Arathab. Big Baddie Marchion Ro is also demanding answers because this mysterious weapon is particularly interesting to him, as it could be just what he needs to end the Jedi Order. The race is on to see who gets to Arathab first. Speaking of races, it's the Great Jedi Rumble race, and Buckets of Blood announces the rules. There are none. Everyone joins in, even Lula Talasola, who's struggling with the pull to the dark side. But unfortunately, it's not all fun and games. On Corellia, Crix, Camerat, and Sabata, Krill meet with Reese Spryler, but what Crix doesn't know is that the two are planning to off him and take over the workings on Corellia. The plan to take down Crix? Have the Jedi take care of it. Lula is still sensing trouble, but trying her best to keep it a secret. Zine also has a secret. She's worried that once Lula is knighted, she won't have any room for Zine in her life. But the alarms sound. Padawan Bibbs has found Crix's hideout. The Jedi head to the forest planet Dollarhide, which by the looks of it might be a larger Nile encampment. The alarms also sound on the planet's surface, bringing the Jedi's arrival to Crix and the Nile's attention. A battle ensues. Zine and Crix go head to head, and Crix takes down Zine's ship, but she doesn't go down alone. Now on the ground, Crix runs and hides with the Jedi in his tail, but he's been sabotaged by Sabata and his own people. The Jedi finally capture Crix alive. High five. Starlight Beacon, which is now being overseen by Stellan Gios, has been towed to the Iram system to help the planet recover from debilitating storms. Jedi Knight Rejul Call brings two suspected Nile prisoners, Chancey Yarrow and Nan, aboard for questioning. The vessel is also on its way to Starlight Beacon with Elzar Mann, Orla Jarini, Avi Hollow, and her crew. The events on Zayas are leaving Avar Kriss, Skier, and Keef Trennis feeling uneasy. Avar didn't agree with Skier's call, resulting in Avar taking Skier's lightsaber away from him and relieving him of his Jedi duties. Driven by emotions, Avar demands an attack on the Nile's hidden base known as the Great Hall, located in no space from the Jedi Council, and won't take no for an answer. After the meeting, Keeve goes to check on Sskeer using the Force to override his door. Sskeer reveals he has Magrak's syndrome, a disease particular to Trandoshans that over time causes their brain to give in to its base urges. Aggression, fury, and rage, resulting in his inability to connect to the Force. And on top of that, all the possible cures would most likely cut him off from the Force permanently. No! Not Sskeer! Seeing himself as a danger, Sskeer wants to give up, but Keeve, being a good friend, won't let that slide. She reminds them that he is a Jedi, and he has a duty. Aboard the Ataraxia, the course is set using a path's drive, but not before Keeve and Sskeer join the crew. Until the Council decides Skeer's fate, he's gonna serve, and Keeve will step in if he steps out of line. If he steps a millimeter out of line, I will gladly knock him on his scaly ass. And she ain't joking. Meanwhile, at the Great Hall, Tempest runners Zeetar and Lorna butt heads with Ro and question his leadership. But the convo is interrupted by the message that a path is opening up above the hall, and it's not by the Nile. Spoiler alert, it's by the Jedi. Avar, driven by anger, makes her way into the Nile base on a mission to hunt down Lorna. Keeve tries to reason with her, but the two cross blades and a blast brings Keeve to her knees, revealing behind her Lorna sporting Zeetar's big fancy mech suit. To the surprise of the Jedi, the Nile shoot upon the Great Hall. You know, their own base, showing they would do anything to succeed. Avar destroys Lorna's mech suit with the Force. Lorna reveals a lightsaber, Tarek's lightsaber. Dun dun dun! She doesn't hold it for long though, because the now even angrier Avar disarms her, or maybe dishands her. But that's not enough for Avar. She raises her saber above Lorna in front of a screaming Keeve. Checking back in on the race to Arathab and his mysterious weapon, Ro's goons are keeping an eye on the Nile doctor Kizma Utterson, who may have a secret of his own. Yeah, he's working with Arathab. But the Jedi also enlist an adorable Chadra fan, Besar, to track Utterson, who gives an update to Cian and Emmerich that she has an eye on it. A showdown takes place in the shipping convoy where a creature messes with Emmerich's mind and stops him in his tracks. Arathab goes to attack Besar, but is disarmed by Cian. Lots of missing limbs in this part of the timeline. Cian, Emmerich, and Besar escape and make their way back to Starlight Beacon, but what they find is a very on-fire Starlight Beacon. How did Starlight Beacon get this way? Let's rewind a little bit. Horrific Nile attacks engineered by Marchion Ro sent a new wave of refugees to Starlight, which unfortunately also brought aboard a trio of undercover saboteurs. The three began to quietly undermine Starlight and release creatures that disrupt the Jedi's connection to the Force. These terrifying creatures take down Kal, Jarini, and Nibisek, while a close encounter leaves Indira Stokes unconscious and Stellan badly shaken. As if that wasn't enough, the saboteurs release Nan and Chansey and set off an explosion that causes Starlight to break in two, its half sinking into Iram's gravity well. The Jedi and Affy's crew jump into action and figure out how to evacuate the civilians. The Galaxy and Marchion watch as Starlight makes like a Yule log and falls. Nan and Chansey step in and take down the saboteurs and restore power to Starlight's thrusters. But this plan fails when Elzar accidentally mistakes them for the saboteurs and kills Chansey. Nan escapes in a civilian ship while Stellan heroically sacrifices his life to operate the thrusters, guiding Starlight's bottom half into Iram's sea and safely away from a major city. And as the cherry on top, Ro sends out a triumphant message to the galaxy declaring himself as the Eye of the Nile. Sskeer might get permanently cut off from the Force. What's going on with Avar? Also, that creature that was messing with Emmerich's mind? Marchion Ro unveiling himself as the Eye of the Nile to the whole galaxy? Well, I guess not all questions are ready to be answered yet. But the question I can answer right now, how awesome I'll look in this costume! Montage time. Yay! I'm a Jedi! Now let's go meet the costume designer that made my High Republic Jedi dreams come true.
My name is Caitlin Jacques, and I am a costumer who does costumes for a lot of different Star Wars categories, but especially Jedi. I never really did Star Wars costuming until I was finishing my doctorate. And a way of staying sane as I finished my dissertation, I started working on an accurate version of Deba Balaba.
Your exploits were quite impressive.
I got involved in this project in a way that still feels a little bit surreal to me. Last winter, I got a message out of the blue from folks at Lucasfilm asking to see my costuming portfolio. And then a couple weeks later, I was approached to do this work, creating some costumes in the High Republic era. It is first and most importantly Krystina's field uniform. Because this needed to reference an era that visually only kind of exists yet, I had to start this with a lot of research. I looked at prequel-era Jedi costumes, I looked at Legends Jedi costumes, original trilogy Jedi costumes, or looking at some of the same sources that Trisha Bigger looked at in inspiration for the prequel trilogy.
Be mindful of the living force, young Padawan.
Jedi, for all that they have certain, thematic elements, aesthetic elements that go across Jedi from different eras and different cultures, each of them is in their way unique. So every background character still has a lot of personality in their costume. So in trying to design Krystina's uniform, I tried to honor that, bring in costumes that pulled visual elements, not only from the High Republic concept art, but from other eras of Star Wars to create that kind of sense of place and thematic continuity, but also where the costumes would have some distinctive personality. In terms of techniques, it involves several different kinds of embroidery. It involves piecework, it involves tailoring, it involves leatherwork. As somebody who loves Jedi, the High Republic is a love letter to the Jedi Order. It's everything that is bright and beautiful about the Jedi as a culture and as a society. Working on this project has been both the hardest and the most rewarding costumes that I've ever made in my life. It was a chance to work on something that will actually shape at least this one tiny corner of Star Wars in a way that fans almost never get a chance to do. I have no regrets for the time and work that has gone into this.
And now it's time to pick the brains of some of my favorite High Republic friends. I'm joined by Creative Director of Lucasfilm Publishing, Michael Siglain, StarWars.com Associate Editor, author, and host of This Week in Star Wars, Kristin Baver, and last but not least, author of Trail of Shadows, High Republic Adventures, and now Midnight Horizon, Daniel José Older. Now, Kristin, let's start with you. Taking off your Lucasfilm hat and looking at this purely through the eyes of a fan, what was your reaction to The Fallen Star?
Oh, heartbreak and despair and excitement all at the same time. The Who Will Survive teaser poster kind of led me to believe that there were going to be some folks who just didn't make it the whole way through, and I was not misled. I'm still rooting for Burryaga. I'm Team Burryaga is totally fine somewhere. He's totally fine. We're going to find out in a couple of years.
I don't want to get into that. It's very emotional. The same reaction that I gave Justina when she mentioned Vernestra, that's how I feel about any reference to any pain coming to Burryaga.
And Belle and Ember, I have a list. I have a list of characters that I'm just like, don't touch them. Don't touch a hair on their adorable little heads.
Daniel and Michael, what were the standouts for the two of you?
You know, I went into the book knowing a lot of the major beats, and I was still blown away by just how intense the whole experience of it is. But I really love the moment when Bell comes up with his whole plan and he's like, I'm gonna build a bomb. That was my #1 favorite part of the whole book.
How about you, Michael?
I mean, for me, it's kind of the same. It was the emotion of it. The connection between Avar and Stellan and Elzar, and to lose one of them at the end is really heartbreaking. The Jedi of this era have never gone through something like this before. And that's the thing about this book that resonated the most with me, was the loss and the emotion. We go from the light of the Jedi to the rising storm to the fallen star, and you can see that they've been through hell. And at the end, it's like the bad guy wins. Hopefully it's this big, gut-wrenching cliffhanger. It's a testament to what Claudia did and to what all the authors did, that we have these characters that we've only known for about a year, and yet we're so invested in them and in their fates. It's like Kristin was saying earlier, what's going to happen to Burryaga? And all of them, you'll find out the fates of some of them, and some of them you're going to have to wait.
That's not ominous at all. Now, Daniel, let's talk about Trail of Shadows. Can you tell us a little about Besar?
Besar is my favorite new character. I had so much fun writing her. I was just really excited to write more Chadrafan because they're such an interesting species. And, we've seen them throughout the galaxy. We get a lot of Uttersan, who I think is a fascinating character. And I wanted to build up his family life and his backstory some. But I also wanted a counterpoint to him, and to get someone who's really invested in stopping the Nile and helping the Republic for her own personal family reasons, because her wife was killed in the Battle of Kur. And it's really about setting up these two characters kind of against each other to see what will happen.
Oh, while we're on that note, let's talk about Uttersan. What's he all about, and how did you approach him?
Uttersan, he doesn't have a moral compass. He does not have loyalty. He does not care about the Republic, and he does not care about the Nile. He would like to live to see tomorrow, and he would like to pay off his student loans. It's very understandable as a human. And I think that's really interesting to play with when you have these two very entrenched sides. Now there's a lot more into the equation.
He's always been sort of our Peter Lorre-like character. And, talking about Trail of Shadows #4, that is one of the most well-written comics I think we have done, period. And what's really, really amazing about that is Daniel hasn't been writing comics for 20 years. You're still relatively new to the comics game. You've been reading them for a long time, and you really knocked it out of the park. I think if anyone hasn't read it, just even from a technical standpoint, this is how you write comics. Like, read this issue and look at it. Trail of Shadows #4, and then out today or around today, Trail of Shadows #5. Do not sleep on these comics.
That means a lot to me.
Oh my God, it was fantastic.
You can tell how much fun I was having writing it, and the opportunity to also expand that story. We've been following Emmerich and Cian so much, and it's just cool to really open up that world to other characters and see how they all come together.
And it works beautifully. You start that without your main characters, and you are just as invested every step of the way.
I also have to say, and Daniel can back me up on this, when I saw the first pages from the first issue of Trail of Shadows, I just sent him an email that was in all caps and was yelling, because I was not ready for that. And I feel like from that first page, on through the end of that series, we're just getting such a ride.
I had a visceral reaction to that moment at the end of Cav's book of The Rising Storm. And that's part of why I was like, this has to be the opening beat for Trail of Shadows. Yeah. Because we all felt that, right? And the galaxy felt that. I wanted us to be able to follow a storyline that came directly out of that and feel like, okay, people are working on this. Where are they going with it? What's going to happen? What happened? Because that's what we were all thinking, right? And I knew what happened, but I was still like, what just happened?
Now, we're also coming to the end of High Republic Adventures. Daniel, can you speak to that a little?
This has been such a wonderful journey for me. I just love these characters so much. And I started out knowing a lot of things, most notably that Lula and Zine were on the trajectory that they were on. So it's really gratifying to not only get there, but get there in a way that feels like this has been where we've been going all along and it landed. So to see the fan art, to see the response and the excitement around those two really recognizing their love for each other, that is beyond what I hoped for, and I had very high hopes. So that's been amazing. So it's a really gratifying journey. Those are truly my babies.
Thank you for acknowledging my ship. I'm really excited when my ships sail. So thank you very, very much for that. Ever since that first time we talked and I was like, look, they're like two halves of the same coin. And I'm very excited about it. So thank you for the validation. I appreciate it. Canon.
My pleasure. Canon.
There's still a lot more storytelling to come in the High Republic. Michael, do you want to give us any, tips, drop some tea, tell us what's coming next?
There's a lot more story to come even in the month of February. With Eye of the Storm, we really get a look into Ro's master plan and his backstory and his lineage. There's some really good surprises and unexpected moments in Midnight Horizon that I don't think folks will see coming. And to end everything, I personally would end it with Eye of the Storm #2. Again, you can read just the Del Reys, you can read just the middle grades, but if you're reading everything, you should probably end on Eye of the Storm.
Hi, Kristin Baver.
Hi, Krystina.
Do you have anything you want to tell me?
I do. I feel like this is the moment, if we were all around a table, I would be looking at Mike and going, can I? Is it okay? Is it all right? Finally, can I say it now?
Please, please, please.
Yes! All right. Krystina, as you know, I've been such a huge fan of this initiative, and I am so pleased to tell you today, and everybody else watching at home, that part of that love is going to come across now in a brand new book from Abrams. That is The Art of Star Wars: The High Republic. By Kristin Baver.
Kristin Baver, author of Skywalker, A Family at War.
One and the same. You know her.
I'm so excited for you. Now, how did you go about uncovering all the art for this book, and how did you approach it?
We worked very closely with Mike and the team to gather up all of this amazing artwork that was, coming across from all the way back to 2018 when they had the first Authors Summit for the High Republic, and they were just figuring out ideas, and they created 5 pieces of artwork from Phil Noto all the way up until right now. And then I had the tremendous privilege of talking to all of the authors, thank you, Daniel, and Mike, thank you, Mike, and all of the artists to bring together all of these behind the scenes stories, because what I wanted to do with this book was to tell that story of how this whole initiative came to be. And I got the chance to do that through all of these amazing interviews and through the generosity of all of the folks working on this project.
Now, what did you learn from working on this that you're allowed to talk about, considering Michael Siglain is sitting digitally right next to you?
it might get bleeped if it's not a thing I can share.
You could probably say that I'm a pain in the neck, and I've got a lot of comments on a lot of the art.
This just in, Mike Siglain, huge pain in the neck. No.
I gotta say, there was only one person for this from the very start. Kristin was the only person we had in mind, and happily all the fine folks at Abrams were just as excited.
Thank you for saying that I was the first person.
You were. There was only, we had our list and it was one person, so it's a good thing that you said yes.
I'm really glad it was you.
Oh,
I was going to add, this process has been unique in so many ways, but one of them is how deeply in conversation we've always been. As you said, from jump with the art, I came out of those initial Phil Noto drawings, right? And so many concepts, and then just the whole time, and still to this day, we get more artwork and we react to it and we're inspired by it and we have thoughts on it and we send it back. It's just this ongoing dialogue. And I feel like people don't really realize that. And also writers of books don't often get to have that degree of connection to the art that's being created. And it's just usually not that organic, if it happens at all. So that's been one of the best parts of the whole experience for me.
So I'm going to ask you, Michael, what else should we know about the end of phase 1?
So if you want to know what else to know about the end of phase 1, I'll take a line from Daniel. Everything is something. If you go back and look at all of phase 1, there are clues along the way as to where we're headed, where the larger story is going over the next couple of years. The other thing to know about the end of phase 1 is it, as much as we play into who will survive when the light of the Jedi goes dark, and as much as it is a disaster movie, it is still Star Wars, and there is still hope, and there is still excitement, and there are still the Jedi. So hopefully everyone just goes in and enjoys, and everyone joins us for phases 2 and 3.
Speaking of everything being something, to Mike's point, we get to meet up again with one of my favorite characters. Sav Malagan plays a major part in the manga, Edge of Balance 2, which comes out very soon. And also, my favorite thing is that in phase 2, we will get to meet Sav as a little bitty Padawan. And I cannot wait for all the adventures she's about to have with Maz and a lot of other amazing characters. So get ready for more Sav Malagan and lots of amazing adventures ahead.
Oh, I cannot wait. I want to thank you all so much for your hard work, for everything that you've put into this initiative. It's always an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I can't wait to see what comes next. Thank you all so much for being with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What time is it, you ask? It's THRS questions time. That's right. You asked the hard-hitting questions on Twitter with our hashtag, and I tracked down the High Republic expert to answer it. This week, the one and only Claudia Gray. Hey, Claudia.
Hey, Krystina. Good to be here.
Thanks for stopping by. I have a couple social questions for you to answer. Are you ready?
All right.
At Drengir Gardner asked, was there much planning of the story that went between the Project Luminous team to work out the finale, or did a lot of it come individually as you wrote?
Both of those things are true. There was a lot of extensive planning among the whole group. From the beginning, we had known some of the big things that were going to happen in this book, but exactly how they were going to happen and how they would coordinate with the other stories being told, all of that involved a lot of cooperation. But no matter how much planning you do, when you're working on a book, it takes on its own identity and you begin to see things in the characters or in the possibilities that didn't exist before. So a lot, I think, of Stellan's character arc in the book and JJ 5145 and a few other elements, those came out just while I was working. So both of those things are true at the same time.
And now, Depa Banana with the questions that we all are dying to hear answered, Claudia. How old is Geode? Does Geode even age? Does Geode just Geode? What is the very philosophical concept of Geode?
I think Geode could really be the only person that could answer his philosophical questions. And he does think on these topics. I mean, he's a deep character. Geodes in a lot of different ways. I think we do learn a little bit in The Fallen Star that magnetism plays a role, but of course we knew that. You know, he's got that kind of a personality. They do age, but very slowly. I am not sure of his exact age. I would think he's sort of youngish to middle-aged by Vint standards. So I gotta figure out exactly what that is because I have to know what other canon material can he be in. If I play this right, who knows? Who knows how long Geode's been around? All right, this is food for thought. Thank you.
Thanks, Claudia. And there you have it. Geode is gonna Geode. Whew. I wasn't lying earlier when I said we had a lot to chat about in this episode, but we aren't done with the fun yet because now it's time for some High Republic Show exclusives. You get an exclusive. You get an exclusive. Everyone gets an exclusive. In the roundtable, our good friend Kristin Baver dropped the news that she's writing the upcoming Art of the High Republic book. But what's an Art of book announcement without showing off some of the art? First, we have some Marchion Ro costume options. Which one reads as more evil? Red, black, or blue? Next is some mission attire variations of Reath Silas and Comac Vitus in his temple outfit. Oh, and we have a first look at both Pika and Joss Adrian. Speaking of looking forward, we also have some Phase 2 reveals. Tessa Gratton and Justina Ireland's upcoming young adult novel will be titled Path of Deceit. We also have the title for George Mann's middle grade novel, Quest for the Hidden City. Ooh, I hope someone packs snacks for that quest. Next up is Zoraida Cordova's novel being released by Del Rey called Convergence. And last but not least, Claudia Gray will be writing the Dark Horse comic, Quest of the Jedi. I can't wait to crack open those Phase 2 books. But to hold us over until then, let's crack open the pages of some comics. Inside the High Republic number 15, we see Keeve Trennis in peril. Oh no, is that the Nameless? I guess we'll have to wait to find out. These Eye of the Storm number 2 pages bring us aboard the Gaze Electric, where Marchion is holding Master Obertuck hostage, gloating about him and the Nile taking down Starlight Beacon, which Obertuck is finding hard to believe. And sadly, we know it's true. But Starlight isn't the end of the destruction. Ro has even more plans. Absolutely evil. Next up is Edge of Balance number 2. Location, the Great Hall. There seems to be a little bit of unrest between the Nile members and Marchion when trying to decide what they'll destroy next. What do you think they'd be arguing about? Where the profits of their next charitable bake sale would go? No, think again. They want to take down more Jedi temples, but not before they find a special object for Ro. Ouch. Oh, that's gotta hurt. Lots and lots of great High Republic content to look forward to. To get a closer look at everything we revealed in this episode, along with all the High Republic information you could ever need, head to starwars.com/The High Republic. And that's a wrap on this episode of The High Republic Show. First official episode of 2022 is in the bag. As always, remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for your daily dose of Star Wars. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you.